Now, going back to our meetings with the decision makers, our next guest is Bezalel Smotrich, Minister of Finance and a minister in the Ministry of Defense, and he will ask about the draft evasion law and the change that is leading in Judea and Samaria, the exemption from drafting law. Chairman of the Religious Zionism, Minister of Finance, welcome to our conference. We'll start with the issue that has come up here again and again since the morning, but is on the public agenda, what is happening in Judea and Samaria. You've been doing a lot of Operation Law. There's the feeling of chaos there, and people who spoke here spoke about a violent eruption and things getting out of control. So are you aware of the situation and how are you dealing with it? It's an anti-Semitic lie campaign that is run by the BDS and against the state of Israel, and it's a pity that people are confused and are collaborating with it in Israel as well. The settlers have the least violence of all the Israeli society. Violence is available everywhere, is there everywhere in Tel Aviv and Ra'anana, on the right wing, on the left wing, of course, but statistically, the settlers are the least violent. They're pioneering, they're brave, leading. They serve in the army, also in the reserves. And I want to tell you what concerns or is what bothers all the people who talk about it is not that marginal phenomena, but what the government is doing with permission and by law. The revolution that I'm doing in Judea and Samaria, new settlements and bringing 1 million settlers and infrastructure and planning and roads. Yes, I am proud of taking off the table a division of the land and establishing a state of terror within Israel. And this is the security strip of the whole state of Israel, from Beersheba in the south to Afula in the north. And if the settlers wouldn't be in Judea and Samaria, then October 7th would be in Hadera and Afula, and we're there to fortify the security of the state of Israel, and also because it's our land. Yes, but these conflicts, this friction that is creating impossible situations and is threatening a violent eruption, we can say that the mere existence of the state of Israel is creating friction in the Middle East. Of course, that friction bothers me, and we need to work against terrorism. We did it in the Gaza Strip. We no longer have terrorism hiding behind civilians. We're moving the civilians out of harm's way, and we're dealing with the terrorists above and below ground. And the Palestinian Authority is educating, financing, and encouraging terrorism. But there are settlers who are provoking violence. No, it's a lie campaign. It's a negative campaign. There is violence in every society. It's a social, marginal phenomenon. I expect the law enforcement authorities to deal with it, but I will not take it out of proportion. Those who oppose settlement in Judea and Samaria are afraid of what the government of Israel is doing with authority and law. This is something on the table. This is something that hasn't happened since the establishment of the State of Israel. This is all regulated by law. All the money that we invest there, it is to fortify the security of the State of Israel and then prevent the next October 7th massacre. I invest in the farms now so that the buses don't explode at the headquarters of the Democrats in Tel Aviv. We are preventing that. But the Democrats are saying, don't do us any favors, we'll deal with the situation elsewhere. But we have been licking the wounds of Oslo with thousands of casualties since Oslo. Eisenkot says that all of this bad things started when the government gave Smotrich responsibility for security in Judea and Samaria. You stopped the administrative arrest and you created chaos. Stop with this, all this conceptual engineering. Gadi Eisenkot is not center. He's left wing. He already said that he would withdraw from our security strip in Gaza and in Lebanon. And it's weakness and it's relinquishment of territory. What I do is the most legal in the world, and I do it legally. This is a revolution that I am leading legally and with authority, and I'm preventing terrorism. Gadi Eisenkot will bring us back to Oslo. He believes it, and people in his party believe it, and they say it out loud. We will remove settlements. And the people spoke about separation and not being the inability to control another nation. And all of this blew up in our face in Oslo and on October 7th, and the disengagement that happened 20 years ago. So what is your vision for Judea and Samaria? So what happened over the weekend and the terror attack proves what happens when we promote. When people use divisive politics and they blame the settlements, the settlers went for a hike. They were not terrorists, but but these politicians are going to set up a government between people who are confused, who can't recognize our enemies, who don't recognize our enemy as Arab terrorism. My dream is for sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, but Judea and Samaria are Nablus and Hebron. It's where our patriarchs lived. This is part of Israel, and also in terms of topography. What I'm doing now is to prepare the ground for, yes, we are changing the DNA of how the state of Israel manages Judea and Samaria. We're making it more effective, more efficient. And the huge numbers of the settlement is part of the change in the mechanism that I've been working on for years. I came to the coalition negotiations, and I knew exactly what I wanted. And I have been able to create a revolution. I say to all those watching us now, this is not my security and your security. No, we don't want Gaza 20 times over on the hills of Judea and Samaria. They can see your home throughout the civilian populations from Hadera to Gedera. You don't even need binoculars. You will see your own home, and you can be shot at. And you can have exactly like on October 7th, you can have an invasion. We will not repeat that stupidity, and it is about that issue that the elections will be held in the upcoming elections. This is life itself. We need to live here with security and peace, and with the feeling that we can step out of our homes and send our kids to schools with peace and security. What about Iran? Maybe the government was a little too sure of itself, and we reached a 90% result and not 100%. We have an excellent outcome. The people of Israel have proven resilience over time, and we pay a price, but we understand that it's a war for our survivals. When intelligence says that Iran is aiming for a bomb, then yes, we need to Gadi Eisenkot said, we have to accept a nuclear Iran. No, we will not accept it. But can we resolve this issue? When the intelligence said that Iran is is going full steam ahead for a nuclear capability, and by the end of 26, it will have 10,000 missiles with nuclear warheads. There is no question about it. We need to attack them with a rising lion and roaring lion. Right now, Iran is much weaker on every front, on the military front, economics. It has 130% inflation. We need to deepen that. Iran will not have a weak Iran will not have money to arm itself and to strengthen its proxies, and with its when the people don't have anything to eat in the population, they will overthrow the regime. We can't accept a regime that is calling for our destruction. And even the opposition faces an existential threat. It's not a matter of Judea and Samaria, but no, Iran. There should be no dilemma, and people who purport to lead Israel, I hope that will never happen, but we expect them to back up the government and collaborate with this. But most of the work on Iran, on the Iranian front, and many Israelis think about whether their summer vacation will continue as planned. We are collaborating with our partners in the United States. That shows how strong we are. But is that support not weakening? No, that it is not weakening. The government is flying to the United States, and that partnership is strong. And no, we weren't surprised. We know everything. Yes, there are dilemmas. There is a complex reality. But when they talked over the weekend about the attack that never happened, so I laughed to myself. Iran is 80 times bigger than Israel. What does victory even mean? Sinwar can sit on a broken armchair in Gaza and say that he won, but he didn't. There's also a big economic issue, and I kept saying to myself, let us not be ungrateful to Trump. He did a lot for the state of Israel. And when he said that Israel will join the campaign in 2 seconds, if I ask, then yes, I say it's good for us that the campaign is being led by the United States. He is responsible for 380 million people, and for the global economy, it's a challenge. We're managing it together responsibly and thoroughly. Iran is much weaker than it was. I hope that it'll be weaker than it is now. We will not accept a regime that calls for our destruction. Naftali Bennett spoke to us about Qatar, and he said Qatar is an enemy. It's a cancer. One of the things that I'll do as a prime minister is I'll declare it an enemy state. And relative to and about Bennett, I don't believe a word he says. He was prime minister. He could have declared Qatar and Iran state. I've been saying it for years, and he didn't do it. Do you think also? I think that Qatar is an enemy state whether we declare it or not. And I very much criticized the fact that it was made an intermediary on the hostages. I think they cause huge damage to the state of Israel. There is no new intelligence that Bennett is seeing now that he hasn't seen as prime minister. It's a well-known patent of people in opposition. In the opposition, they say that they will beat Iran in 48 hours. Everybody is very wise to be sitting there in the back rows. And when they actually sit in office, they're a total failure. And we know the outcome of October 7th, but we came back to our senses, and we fought back. And maintaining the high-tech and the shekel and the stock exchange, the inflation and the the prices of housing. I brought them down, the housing prices, by 15%. And taking into account all of the operations, the campaigns, the economy of Israel is very strong, even amidst the war. So just to finalize the security issue, the Muslims around us won't accept the state of Israel. What is your solution to that reality? My solution is to be strong. The Jabotinsky's iron wall. It's the same logic, just be strong. And we're working now about our independence in terms of production and armament. And we must maintain and strengthen our assets vis-a-vis the world. There is no romance. There is an ideological partnership and an alliance of interest. We need to lead quantum technology and armament. We need to be very strong in the house, very strong in the neighborhood, in the Middle East. We have a lot of assets vis-a-vis many countries around the world that need our collaboration in science, in intelligence, in technology. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing as the Minister of Finance, developing technology as well. You passed a budget as a Minister of Finance. What score would you give yourself? Were you a good Minister of Finance? I was a Minister of Finance who got up every morning, who listened, who studied, who made decisions, who worked very hard. I passed a lot of reforms on all sorts of economic and financial fronts, and competition in the banking sector, and the credit database for businesses. And hopefully I'll be able to pass the Metropolitan Authorities Law and the National Laboratory for Sciences with Professor Zeifman and AI, yes, and running the war and the economy and law during the war, and all the budgets that have been impacted by the law, and indirect damage, and the reservists, and the evacuees, and the survivors. But we lay the foundation for a very strong economy. I think I did a good job. I don't want to give a grade myself. I think the data speaks for itself. You criticized the governor of the Bank of Israel about the interest rate. Yeah, I think that he needs to reduce the interest rate much faster and much more drastically. A strong shekel to us expresses a strong economy, but we need to allow the economy to adapt to a strong shekel. We need a low interest rate. We need to bring a lot of money here through many financial instruments. I think he's being over-conservative, and the interest rate is too high. So a bit of politics in the trends of we see that the religious Zionism, we see that you're paying a price in the polls on the draft to the IDF. You represent the serving population. What is the reason for your low numbers? I think that in the polls in the last month, we have gained a lot of strength, and I think we'll gain more strength. We want to continue doing the revolutions that we started. So for 3 years, I didn't do politics. I worked very hard to impact the war without slogans, without politics. And now I have 3 months to explain also to the religious Zionism and to a lot of people who can identify with our ideology of the land and the Torah and everything that we did and everything that was within our purview, like Ophir Sofir. So yes, he did resign, but he did amazing work, and his work as the Minister of Immigration, and Orit Strok, who's really admired in strengthening the South and the North, and what I have done in the Judea and Samaria, and you know this, and the impact that I had on Netanyahu throughout the war, and I have have the opportunity to gain the faith, we will be the backbone of the next government, hopefully. What about the deals with the ultra-Orthodox that you didn't go against? The greatest challenge for politicians is to weigh what is important, what is to weigh the biggest challenges and the smaller ones. And when I knew that we were in the past, when we were preparing for a roaring lion, and I wasn't able to say it because it was under censorship, and I knew that the future of the state of Israel was on my shoulders, then I wouldn't bring down the government. And when I knew that we were starting Operation Roaring Lion because Iran wasn't weakened enough and we needed another round, and we couldn't, then I wouldn't shake the coalition. So are you not, what about your stand with the ultra-Orthodox? I always said the truth. The ultra-Orthodox must fight. I have two sons in the army, and one of them was severely injured. I have a lot of anger on the ultra-Orthodox that are not experiencing this with us, are not contributing. But I think that we will need to reach consent. We have incentives, both positive and negative, and I thought that it was wrong to dismantle the government that strengthened our security and changed our security concept for decades ahead. And I think that the right will continue to lead Israel, and we will deepen and expand those achievements in security and in the law and the law enforcement and the communication. We don't want a saison against a government that fights the right wing. I hope that we will continue to lead Israel with pride and understanding that, yes, that we need to work hard to do more. Bezalel Smotrich, thank you very much.